Hello everyone, it's Lottie from Cancer is a Lifestyle. Now I'm going to give you a little trivia about myself right off from the very start. I happen to love to do lists, and I like graphs and charts and notebooks and diaries, and this is just, I just love writing all these things down, my plans, my future goals. I daydream about things like that. I love that. Now I'm telling you this ahead of time right now because today I wanted to talk to you about something that I've started doing in this week alone, called a food diary. Now, why am I keeping a food diary? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story that happened quite a few years back. I went to my GP and I ended up having my physical done, and this is also the time where I changed a lot of things in my life. And I was talking, telling her about all the changes I've made. And I mean, like, I've given up pop. I didn't eat no more fried food, no more canned goods. I was, eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. And I've just really changed my diet quite a lot. Now, at that time, I was telling her about these things, and she is just looking at me, and she's like, Miss Krol, I really need you to lose some weight. And if you were really doing all these things, you would have lost some weight. And I'm just like looking at her like she's crazy. I didn't like her at all when she was saying these things to me. And I kind of looked at her because she was a little chunky herself. And she's like, you know what, Miss Krol, I want you to start a food diet, a food journal, excuse me. I want you to do a food journal and write down everything that you're writing down, what you're eating and everything, and then come back in 3 months and we're going to go over this. And I'm just like looking at her like she's thinking crazy. I was so offended that she was telling me all these things, like I am lying and that I am eating like donuts every day and stuff. I was so offended. And then I looked at her and I'm like, she could have lost some weight herself. Do you know that I was so offended by her for saying that to me that I did not go back to her anymore but went to another GP. Now I'm telling you this because here we are several years later. I have implemented all of these things into my lifestyle. Like I said, I have started, I have changed my life to making a lot of healthy choices. This has been years now since I have been having cancer, and it's really changed my life and for the better, I think, right? So if I had to rate myself, how well am I doing with making healthy choices, and especially when it comes to food and things like that, I would say that I am about 90% of where I want to be. Now that's a real good number. But there's that 10% that I wonder about. And I gave myself a 90 because I feel like I have given up so many things that other people, for instance, pop, soda. I mean, I don't drink soda for years. Other people, if they gave up soda, they would have lost 10 pounds. I don't go to fast food. I can't remember the last time I was in Taco Bell or Burger King or McDonald's. I just don't eat that. Yet, I am still the same size that I was years ago. I have, my weight has kind of like fluctuated, a few pounds up higher, a few pounds lower, but I've never really made a significant change. And I kind of wondered about that. Why is that? If I am doing 90% of my making healthy choices, why can I not see the results? Now, I see the results on the insides, like when I do my biometric screening, I see my sugar levels are low, I see my cholesterol is fine, I see all that, but on the outside you don't see that. So I told you that story because I thought back to that story, that doctor visit with her, and I thought to myself, well, maybe she is right all along, and the reason I was so offended is maybe because she is right. There must be a pattern in what I am doing that I am not even aware of. For instance, I'm going to give you for instance that I've noticed right now since I've done. I go into work, and we all have this at work. I don't care where you work, you have this place. I go into work, and I get situated, my day begins, and then about an hour or two later, I'm like heading to the snack area And we all have that snack area at work where, you know, people having an anniversary or a birthday, or, you know, they're retiring, or there was a luncheon at work and there's some leftovers and they put it in this area, right? We all have that. We have a sweet table for Halloween, Christmas, and all sorts of things. There's always food at work, and there's that area where you know you're going to go to. There's going to be some snacks. So here I'm into my day, and I'm walking, and I stop right in front of the door, and I tell myself, what in the world are you doing? You made all these plans, you made the decisions that you're going to be, you know, you're trying to figure out why, you know, you think you're doing all these healthy things, but suddenly, you know, and I just realized that, you know what, without even knowing it, I may be doing really good at home and I'm making all the right choices at home, but when I leave the home, I'm already seeing certain things that I'm doing that made me hold me back from that 10% in my life. So I ended up starting that food journal that my doctor, my old GP, suggested like 10 years ago, and I was so offended I never went back to this woman again, because I thought to myself, you know why I was offended? Because I was probably doing a lot of things that I wasn't admitting to. Even maybe subconsciously I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm eating healthy so I can eat this or I can do this. So I started a food diary. Now the food diary that I'm starting, I just used an ordinary notebook. You know, I'm going to give you a little hint, a suggestion. When it's back to school, I go into all the, you know, you go to Target, Walmart, wherever you get your school supplies with your kids, you can get like a lot of these notebooks, colored pencils, markers, I mean anything like glues. I go get all that stuff then because it's like super cheap. I bought this notebook for like 50 cents. I stocked up on them and I use them for all sorts of things, Bible studies, as a private journal. I use one for writing my accounts. You know, when I want to pay off a bill, I write my, you know, my payments down. I use these for all kinds of things. But now back to what we were really talking about. So here's my journal. I told my girlfriend about this, that I was doing this, and she was like, well, how are you doing this journal? Are you putting columns in about the date and the time, and are you color coding it, or, you know, for emotions and all? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing any of that. This is just a basic journal. All I'm doing in here is basically, I'm just putting in the date and the time. And I'm writing down everything that I'm eating. Everything. Write down how many sugars in my coffee, you know. And then I put like a little note. If I'm feeling anything, I put a little note. And then I put down what I'm feeling, if I'm angry, if I'm upset, if I am feeling full but I'm still eating. I put whatever little tidbit or observation that I see about myself. So like for instance, when I started this on January 3rd, I put down for breakfast what I had. And then I put down right underneath it, along with my list of what I was eating, I put down vitamins. And then I wrote under a note, I was like, okay, so why am I writing down vitamins? Because A, there's gummies in there, and I consider that candy. Or am I writing down vitamins because I consider that nourishment as part of food for my body? So, but then I wrote down, you know, in another comment, I said, nah, I'm considering this candy because it's gummy bears, you know. But you see right away that tells me something about how I view my food. I view everything as food, you see. So I'm writing down all these little tidbits because I want to see if there's a pattern there. Am I eating when I'm angry? Am I eating when I'm upset? Am I eating because, you know, mindlessly eating, but I'm not really hungry? You know, I'm just noticing, I'm just writing these little things down, and I'm writing these comments. So I wrote about my experience at work when I stopped myself, and I thought about that, and I wrote that down in here too. Because you see, you may not notice these things in the beginning, but as you're going through your week, you see these little comments that I made. Like I made one the other day, where I wrote that I had a fuller breakfast. I had more to eat for my breakfast, and that I actually stayed full longer because I had a bigger breakfast. So these little comments are going to help me later, and I'm going to look down at it, And then you know what I'm also curious about, as I'm doing this journal, and I don't want to give it a specific amount of time, like I'm doing it for a month or I'm doing it for a week. I want to see, like, let's say it's February, and then I'm going to check it from the beginning, and then halfway through, I want to see if I made improvements in my eating habits. Now, my other girlfriend, when I told her I was doing a food diary for myself, she told me she's always done one, and not for a diet or anything. She's done one because she feels when she writes down her meals, that it actually makes her accountable and makes her actually stop and say, wait a minute, I've already had so much, high calorie food. I need to eat something lighter today. Or, you know what, I already had too much dessert. I need to stop. And this, when she writes it down, it actually makes her stop and wonder that, wait a minute, I had a really full day of junk yesterday. I need to eat healthier now. So I'm hoping that this food journal will also help me in things like that. So that's what I'm doing. I would like to know if you guys ever used a food journal, and if you actually, or a food diary, if it's ever worked for you, or if you are doing one now, or maybe you want to try one along with me. So I'll let you guys know, after a couple of weeks how it's coming along on this food diary. But I really want to get to 100% where I have control over my food and not my food have control over me. So that's the goal that I'm going for with this food diary here. And I hope that you guys join me on my little challenge here for myself. And if not, please comment below, if you ever done this before, or if you've done other little tricks like this to help you find out what your eating habits were like. So thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Hit the thumbs up. If you like this video, comment below. And thank you so much. And have a blessed day, everyone.